You're listening to the Practical Wealth Show with Curtis May, putting you in the driver's seat to control your finances. Let's start the Practical Wealth Talk about alternatives to Wall Street.
This is Curtis May, and I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. And so I have I'm excited. And I have a special guest, Mr. Ty Crandall. And so let me read you his bio. This is very exciting. So I'm excited to bring Ty to you guys. So Ty is an internationally known speaker, author, and business credit and financing expert, right? And he's the CEO at Credit Suite, where he oversees the biggest business credit coaching operation in the United States, okay? So he has 100% of the information, guys. And so with 16 years of financial experience, Ty is widely recognized as an authority in business credit building, business credit scoring, and business financing. He is the author of two popular books. The first one, Perfect Credit, and the second one, Business Credit Decoded. So I'll definitely talk about that. And so Ty is a frequent contributor to radio and news shows, TV programs, magazines, including Entrepreneur Inc., Forbes, as well as the host of a popular podcast, the Business Credit and Finance Show. Say hi to the family out there.
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing today? I'm glad to be here.
We're doing great. And so that's exciting. So that's everybody I talk to is like, oh, when I meet with clients, we'll talk to people, or they'll say, well, what's on your mind when it comes to finances? Oh, I got to fix my credit, or I don't, or business owners we're going to talk about today is I know a business owner that's a multimillionaire with bad credit, and he still, is not using other people's money. So as we frame this conversation, so the title of this show is going to be the 4-step formula for building business credit that works even if you have none now. So that probably is a big, a big group of people out there. Would you say, Ty?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, statistically, about 90% of business owners don't even know what business credit is. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think the vast majority of business owners that we talk to don't know what business credit is. And a lot of people are trying to get financing out there. They're just not unable to get the business loans and credit lines they need to grow.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so, one of the things that we teach in our firm is how to be the bank. But the thing is, you need to have access to other people's money, and you need to have it not tied to your personal social security number, so it's not personal credit. You don't have to do personal guarantees, and your business is set up so that it is an entity in of itself that can secure credit that allows you to expand, because it takes a long time to save up, $20, $30, $40,000, but you could borrow it in, a half hour, right? Or in a really short period of time if you're set up right to do so. And so that will allow you to expand. So what we're going to talk about today is for you business owners or would-be business owners out there that are thinking about it, how to get yourself together, how to build that business credit muscle, right?
Absolutely.
And so, Ty, let me ask you, let's start with this. Exactly, what is business credit? Exactly.
Well, obviously, all of your listeners are familiar with consumer credit. You are born, you have a social security number. When you get old enough, about 18, you can start using that social security number to apply for credit. You can get credit cards, and then you move up to auto financing, and you get mortgages and qualify for other loans. Business credit's exactly the same thing, but instead of it being linked to you as an individual, it's for your business. So your business, under its EIN number, comes out, gets high-limit credit cards that's not linked to you personally, not linked to your personal credit, doesn't need your personal credit to get approved. Then the business uses that credit, pays the bills, then starts qualifying for, even more auto vehicle financing without a personal guarantee or credit check, and Visa cards, MasterCards, American Express. And then as that business credit's established, it makes it even easier for the business to qualify for loans and credit lines as well.
That's awesome. Okay. And so can any business really get business credit?
Yeah, that's one of the nice things about business credit. I call it a catch-all because, to get any kind of business financing, you need some kind of lendable strength. So if you want to get a business loan and you go into your bank, they want you to have good credit, cash flow, verifiable per tax returns, and collateral. Now, there's a lot of alternative lenders out there nowadays that can get you financing even if you have one of those three things. So if you have cash flow, money going into your bank accounts or your business bank account, or you have collateral, or you have good personal credit, one of those three can open up some kind of funding option for you. But with business credit, any business can qualify. You don't need cash flow. You don't need credit. You don't need collateral. So what that means is it means you can get business credit even when you can't get any kind of business financing. And even if you can get business financing, by establishing business credit, that's what's looked at to determine how much you'll typically get approved for and the rates and terms you'll pay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so let's talk about the we know it's important, but in your mind, why is it important for a business to do this? And then I want to follow up with, then start to walk us down your 4-step formula.
Well, I think that, the majority of businesses fail, unfortunately. And when we look at what causes these business failures, what we find is that, unfortunately, a lot of things happen that are unexpected in our businesses. And if you don't have the capital to get you past those unexpected occurrences, then you fail. If you have an office and your air conditioning unit goes out, or a marketing campaign fails, or somebody rips you off and takes your money for this, or you get sued, or any of these type of things that are unexpected that can happen. If you have the capital, then you can pretty much seamlessly get through those events. But if you don't have the capital, even one of those unexpected expected events can put you out of business.
Absolutely.
You have to have money to succeed. And when we look at, the biggest businesses that exist today, privately and publicly owned, 100% of them have business credit. 100% of them use business credit and have used it to get as big as they are. So
right.
When we look at companies like Walmart, 80% of what Walmart sells, they use business credit to buy. So they go buy Bounty paper towels from Bounty using business credit. They put the paper towels on their shelves. You pay them for the paper towels and buy them. They take your money and they pay off the credit. That's how they've got as big as they are to be the number one retailer in the world, because they're very good at OPM, using other people's money to grow. The same as Apple and every one of these large publicly or privately owned companies. So that's what I think. I think that, one, you have to have capital to grow a business. If it's a lifestyle business and you're just trying to kind of get enough money to live off of and you never want to make it big and successful, then you could probably be okay without getting outside capital. But for everybody else that really wants to build a business that grows, the revenues grow and the profits grow, you have to be able to get capital to get there. And business credit's one of those things you can't ignore. I used to own a consumer credit repair business, and a lot of people would forget their credit. They would, basically not do anything with it when they messed up and had bad credit. And then eventually it caught up to them. Eventually they needed to get a mortgage. They needed to get a car loan. Well, that's the same way in the business world. You can ignore business credit in the beginning stages of your business. But at some point, your business gets so big and you try to get loans and credit lines and you try to get credit cards that you start getting denied because you don't have business credit. So at some point, you have to do it. And you'd want to do it anyways, because it's what provides you the capital you need to actually grow a successful business.
I thought of another question before you answer the other one. When should they start thinking about it or preparing for it? Like the day their business opened the doors, that type of thing, or they're part-time and they're looking to transition into full-time, what I mean?
I personally think anybody that starts a business should start building business credit. And the reason for that is because statistically over 75% of business owners are using money from family and friends or their own personal funds or credit to fund the business. So most people are getting money from outside sources or dipping into their personal credit and financing the wrong way to be able to build the business. Business credit's designed for your business to fund itself. So why would you not want your business to fund itself in lieu of you needing to go borrow from relatives or borrow from friends or take money from your own retirement savings or ruin your own personal credit to get the money? Business credit was designed for the business to fund itself. So I think you're going to need money right from the startup phase to fund the business, especially in the first year to 2 years. So use business credit for what it's for the business to fund itself. So you don't have to borrow from family. You don't have to borrow from friends. You don't have to tap into your personal credit or your personal assets to be able to do it.
Okay. Just make sure you have revenue, because you do have to pay it back. I had this guy on, he's like, he's setting up his corporation and he's creating all this business credit. But I'm like, dude, you don't have any revenue. What are you doing? What are you selling? It's debt is a two-edged sword, right? You do have to you got to manage it. You got to pay it back. So it's good in the hands of people that use it. I read, I was just telling somebody yesterday, I was reading this past summer, Kiyosaki's latest book, Why the Rich Get Richer. And it was fascinating because basically it's debt and taxes, using debt, leveraging debt, what you're saying, what the companies are doing, and using other people's money, and the tax code, which is a whole separate conversation. But the power of getting organized with that from the get-go. So tell us about, and I may use a case study of a person that, let's say they've been in business a year or two, they've got an LLC, but they're still using their personal credit cards, and then walking through how they begin to, establish credit, unsecured credit in the name of their entity that they've created.
Well, I think that is a common scenario that you just laid out. Somebody gets in business, they have access to personal credit cards, they use their personal credit cards to fund their business. Then what happens, typically, we see this all the time, is that they get near or to the point of maxing out those cards, and then they start going to look for money.
Right.
Right. And so the problem with this scenario is that when we look at the consumer FICO score, there's 5 aspects to this score, and payment history accounts for 35% of the score, how you pay your bills, and utilization, the percentage of your credit limits you're using, account for 30% of your score. So what this means is it means that how much you put on credit card, the balances you put, are almost equal in your score calculation as how you pay your bills. Wow. If you max out your credit cards, the damage is almost as severe mathematically as what you would be if you just didn't pay your bills on time. So that's a real problem. And considering utilization is 30% of the score, the other problem with that is that consumer credit cards were never designed to fund a business. They were designed for you to use individually. So this is why SBA says that limits on business credit cards are 10 to 100 times higher than consumer credit. If you're used to getting a $2,000 Home Depot account, it's very common in our world to see $20,000 to $50,000 Home Depot accounts.
Wow. So
when you're trying to use consumer credit for what it was not designed for, then you're going to max out your utilization very quickly because your limits are much lower than they should be. They're not designed to fund a business. They're designed to fund you individually. So when you try to use them to fund a business, you max them out quick, your scores tank, and then your ability to get unsecured credit lines for your business loans for your business, mortgages for you personally, loans for you personally, credit cards, your ability to access money, period, across the board is paralyzed for your business and for you as an individual. So I see the people make that mistake all the time. Now, if you do it the right way, you come in, you start building your business credit the right way, you get the Visa card, the MasterCard, the Amazon account, the Dell account, the Home Depot account, you start putting your business expenses on your business credit accounts, not your personal credit. Well, then what happens is your personal credit stays intact. Your utilization isn't adversely affected. Your scores stay high. Your ability to get credit lines and loans for the business using your personal credit as a driver are still there. Your ability to get other financing and other credit as an individual is still intact. So that's what it was supposed to be like. That's what this whole system is designed to do. Business credit funds businesses, personal credit funds you as an individual. And if you do it the right way, you can maximize the potential of both your business and personal credit. But if you're trying to use personal credit to fund the business, you ruin your ability to then use your credit for what you really need it for, which is to build the things that you need in your consumer life and also to open up more financing for your business as well.
Wow, that's a really good distinction. I mean, that I've never heard it put that way. So that's awesome. Thank you for that. That is the guy called a value bomb right there. just boom, it just exploded. So what are your 4 steps? Walk us through that.
Well, the very first step of building business credit is really the very first step of getting any kind of financing, and it's to set up your business credibly. Look, you and I, we both went and applied for credit cards before. One of two things happens. We either get an approval, and they oftentimes tell us what our limit is, or we get that dreaded message that we'll hear in 7 to 10 days by mail, and you and I know that's like never good, right? That's never positive news what we get when we get the mail.
Right.
So we understand that computers are making a large part of these decisions and these automated approvals. So the very first step is to understand what these lenders and credit issuers are looking for and then meet that criteria. So then you know you can qualify versus going in and not meeting the criteria, which will get you an instant denial. So when it comes to business credit, when it comes to loans, what they're looking for is basically everything that you're putting on an application. Your business name. From lending purposes, you're better off to choose a name that's as neutral as possible. Our name, Credit Suite, is problematic for us to get loans, problematic for us to get credit because the word credit is in the name, and credit means we're in financial services. Financial services is high risk. So trying to stay away from high risk industry, anything to do with porn and weapons and pawn shops and financial services, any of those type of things will help you get a better chance of getting financing because the name itself doesn't reflect your high risk. And I've been there before. The last couple of businesses I've owned have had the word credit in the name. I've had bank accounts shut down. I've had a hard time getting merchant accounts. It's been harder to get financing and credit. So we have to consciously make a decision. We made a decision to put credit in our name to tell people what we do, knowing that it will be more difficult to obtain some of those type of things. If you're going to do the same thing, just know that a more neutral name makes it easier for you to get loans and credit lines and to get business credit, but it also makes it a little bit more difficult for people to know what you do. So you kind of have to make that decision. Your business address. You want to choose preferably a real physical business address. If you're working from home, you want to choose a virtual address where you could basically spend $100 or $200 a month, rent an address to get mail at, and that's all you're doing. You have an address in a high-rise building in Tampa, Florida. You're just getting your mail there, and it looks like you have a business or an office in a really, really reputable location, but you're really just renting the address. So that's the second choice. The third and last resort is your home address. You'll still get approved with some sources like Amazon. Others like Walmart will not approve you with the home address. You also should know that places like Dunn and Bradstreet, which is the biggest business credit reporting agency, they are now putting Google Street Views of your business address on your business credit report. So things like that are something to be considered. You know, anybody can pull your business credit report that wants to, or if you're using a home address, those are some considerations to have. But you never want to use a P.O. box. You never want to use a UPS address on an application for credit or financing. Those can and often will immediately get you denied.
Okay.
And then phone number. Use a business phone number. Use a voice over IP number. Don't use a home phone. Don't use a mobile phone as your business phone number online anywhere, especially not on applications for credit and financing. Get a toll-free number. Get a fax number. And oftentimes, like places like Ring Central, you could get your phone number to be a toll-free number and to be a fax number all in one for $15 a month or $30 a month, depending on the source. And get your phone number listed with 411. When you start building business credit, they'll often want to see that you have an EIN number and that your business is set up and that you're listed with 411. So get your phone number listed with 411 as well. That's an oftentimes a requirement that lenders and credit issuers look at. Get a website. Get a professional website set up. You know, you can go to Upwork.com to hire somebody to set it up. You can go to places like TemplateMonster.com for $150, $200. You can put together a pretty good looking website. And when you're getting that website on GoDaddy, then get the emails that come with it for free. And use, my website is creditsuite.com. My email is info@creditsuite.com. That's a professional email. You don't want to use a Gmail or a Yahoo or any of those type of emails. It needs to be, a professional email like yourname@yourdomain.com. And some other things, if you need licenses for your industry, your county, or your state, get those licenses. And also make sure that all your listings online are congruent. Your business name, your phone number, your address. What they say on Yelp should be the same on Facebook, should be the same on your website, should be the same on Bing. Because the reporting agencies like Dunn and Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian Commercial, they get information from those sources. We're not used to that as consumers. They don't do that. But in the business world, they do that. They go to Yelp. They go to Yellow Pages. They go to Facebook to mine and get data about your business. So you need to make sure that the name, the address, the phone number, it's congruent everywhere it's listed online. It's the same on the Secretary of State as what you're putting on the application. It's the same on your bank account that you're putting on that application, that's congruent. So those are some basics of, setting up your business the right way where it's credible. Try to choose an LLC or choose a corporation as an entity to set up, even though an LLC isn't officially referred to as a corporate or as an entity per the IRS. Because sole proprietorship and partnerships, you'll always be liable for what happens with the business. So you want to separate that liability by getting a corporation, by choosing an LLC. You can separate that liability, and then of course get your EIN number for free from the IRS. If you've done these things, now you have a credible business. You have a business address that's reputable. You have a phone number that's reputable. You have the licensing that you need. You have the website and the email address. The listings are congruent. You have the EIN. You have the entity set up. That's really the first step. That's what a lot of these lenders and credit issuers' computers are looking for to make sure you're credible before they even think about being able to issue you loans and credit lines.
Wow. So we're still in step one, right?
We are.
Yes.
And I wanted to pause because I think maybe you'll have questions or insight before we kind of go rapid fire through the rest of this.
That is fascinating. I mean, I think that just the location, a landline, the entity, these are like just things that you just got to, just to be set up right to do business.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, as I see, we see a lot of people not set up their business the right way. And this is really interesting because we have a lot of people that come in and go, I went to my bank and I got denied a loan and I don't know why. And we do these checks and we find a simple address mismatch. What they put on the application was a little different than the Secretary of State. We correct it. They go back to the bank and immediately get approved. And we actually see that happen quite a bit. So setting up that business credibly only has to be done once. But once it's done the right way, and then you already know that you meet the basic requirements that a lot of these lenders and credit issuers.
See, because you have to look at what they're looking for. I tell people, look, you don't need to go hat in hand. I mean, they're in the money business, so they want to lend money. You need to give them what they want and be able to, and one of which is the ability to pay it back, but they want to make, they want to loan money. That's their business. So but if you're haven't set your stuff right, they're going to give you a regular credit card app because you're not ready to be in business, right? So you're going to fall into the personal credit side where you don't have as much complexity because in their mind, you're not ready. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And that's the way it kind of is in life. I mean, my 7-year-old is in gymnastics, and in gymnastics, you get 1/8 of a point off if you do certain thing. And other thing, it's, 2/8 of a point, and it's a half a point. And, but the people that teach my daughter gymnastics and even us as parents, we understand this point system. So we understand that, when our daughter is trained how to do gymnastics, she needs to know how the scoring works so she has any chance of winning her competitions. If she just went in and just did a routine with no idea of how the scoring works or what she needed to do to maximize her points, well, then she would never win, right? So it's the same thing in life. When you understand the system and the rules of the game that you're playing, well, then you can actually win and succeed in that game. But if you just start playing a game, like I do with my 7 and 9-year-old, where I don't know the rules and they tend to make them up as they go, I have no chance of winning those games whatsoever. And that's what I think
it's hard to win a game you don't know the rules. And so most of the time, especially when it comes to in the financial world, we're either playing by the wrong rules or we don't know the rules at all. And it's like me trying to beat you at chess using checkers rules.
Right.
So, exactly. And okay. So what's step 2?
The next step is you want to get set up with a reporting agency. So this is very different in the business world than it is in the consumer world. In the consumer world, you kind of have to mess up to have bad credit. Like you're not going to ever be issued bad credit unless you do things that you shouldn't be doing, like max out your credit cards or go late or those type of things. In the business world, if the business credit reporting agencies like Experian and Equifax know you exist, they will give you a failing score because you have no credit. So when you even think about building business credit, the first thing you want to do is go do a free search to see if Dunn and Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian even know you exist, to see if you have any trade lines or accounts reporting with them now. And you can go to creditsuite.com/reports to do that. creditsuite.com/reports. And at creditsuite.com/reports, there's a free link that you can go to Dunn and Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian, do a simple search, and just see if the reporting agencies even pull up a file for you. Now, they're typically either going to pull up nothing when you type in your business name or address, or they'll pull up your name and address showing that they have your record, or they'll pull up your name and address with something that says trade lines beside it, which indicates that not only do they know you exist, but you actually have accounts reporting. If you see trade lines or you see it pull up with no trade lines, you need to pull your report, because there's a good chance you have a report and a failing score that you're starting to build off of when you don't even have any credit. You need to know those things before you get started, so do that free search. And while you're there on Dunn and Bradstreet's website, you want to get your DUNS number too. Your DUNS number is a 9-digit number that's issued by Dunn and Bradstreet. It's used worldwide, unlike our EIN numbers, which are just used in the United States. And it's a worldwide identifier that's used to identify your business based on its name and address. So you want to get your free DUNS number, because Dunn and Bradstreet will never even create a credit report for you unless you actually have acquired this DUNS number. And you can go to creditsuite.com/DUNS, which is DUNS, creditsuite.com/DUNS, or just Google free DUNS number and get your DUNS number from Dunn and Bradstreet. It doesn't cost money to get, but DNB will call you and try to upsell you to $1,000, $2,000 package, which you absolutely do not need and do not want. I'll show you how to get around that as we dive into the next step. Okay. But you want to get that DUNS number, because some credit issuers will require it, and DNB won't even populate credit reports for you unless you have it.
Okay, well, that's awesome. And so we'll make sure that we'll put those links to Ty's site, but we'll put those links in the show notes also, so you can just kind of click them and it'll take you right there.
Perfect.
To Ty's site. So that's fantastic. Let's go do 3. I don't have a question about that one, but that's
so now that you've set up with a reporting agency, you've done your background, you've done a check, you've seen if there's anything on your credit report, you maybe even disputed it with the credit reporting agency if there was something on there that shouldn't have been on there, or it was negative. Then the next thing that you want to do is you want to start building business credit. Now, this has to be very intentional, and we're not used to this, because as consumers, if I walk into Walmart and get a credit card, I'm guaranteed that that thing is going to report on my consumer credit report. But it's not like that in the business world. The business world, 97% of trade vendors do not report. So we commonly see business owners go, oh yeah, I got great business credit. And then we pull it and there's nothing that exists. And they say, how can that be? I have credit with this guy and this guy and this guy and this person in my town, but none of those people report. Business credit, you have to be very intentional about building, because so few vendors actually report to them. So you got to go find vendors that do. Now, there's a couple different ways to do it. If you have good personal credit, well, then there are finance sources out there that will help you secure multitude of credit cards, 5 to 8 credit cards. These credit cards you could take cash out on. You get 0% interest for 6 to 18 months. And they also report to the business credit reporting agencies. So we work with these finance sources to help our clients get 5 to 8 credit cards. They get 100, 150,000 sometimes in financing, even as a startup, 0% rates. They could take the cash out on the cards. It's a great way to go. Those accounts report to the business credit reporting agencies. It gives you your first 5, 6, 7 plus trade lines. But the problem is you need a 685, 700 FICO score to get it, and you need to provide a personal guarantee. So maybe you have a 685, 700 FICO. Maybe a guarantor who will sign for you does. And if so, great option to go. We've got a link on our website, creditsuite.com/get funding. And anybody that maybe even thinks about that option, they can go to creditsuite.com/get funding. We don't charge a dime to get you financing. Lenders, credit issuers, they charge their normal fees. But then we can help put you with the source that can help you get those kind of cards. The second option is called vendor credit. And vendor credit, if we look at how consumer credit starts, it typically starts with small, secure credit cards. In the business world, secure credit cards are not very common. Wells Fargo is a great source for them, but not a lot of others out there work. Mm-hmm. That instead, we use vendor credit. And vendor credit is offered through places like Quill, Uline, Granger, Gimplers. So Quill sells over 1 million products, printing and all kind of office supplies. Uline sells shipping supplies. Granger and Gimpler sell like outdoor supplies. So these companies will give you credit even when you have none. They report the credit to the business credit reporting agencies, where, again, as we talked about, most don't. So they do not require a personal guarantee. They do not require a personal credit check. These are vendors anybody can get. And no matter which way you go, you use vendors or you use the cash credit cards with the PG, you need to get about 5 accounts using one of those 2 methods, get the account credit, buy stuff, pay the bill, then those accounts report to the business credit reporting agencies. That establishes your initial business credit reports. It establishes your initial business credit scores, and that's what gives you the baseline you need to start moving on to the next step of getting revolving credit.
Okay. So now with the so it's like Quill would don't like Kinko's or Staples. Can you do the same thing with them?
Well, Kinko's and Staples, for example, and this is one of the common mistakes that people make. If you walk into Staples today as a consumer and you're 18 years old and you've never built any credit and you try to get a credit card, Staples would deny you. Okay. Now, if you walked into Staples as a consumer and you had 3 credit cards already and they gave you a profile and it gave you a score and you paid your bills as agreed, Staples would approve you. So it's the same thing in the business world. You can't start getting credit with stores like Staples in the business world or in the consumer world. It won't work. Any retailer, Sam's Club, Costco, BP, Chevron, Sunoco, Staples, Office Depot, Nordstrom, Macy's, you name a retailer, they all will require you have some credit before they'll give you credit without a personal guarantee in the business world, and credit at all as a consumer. You've got to have credit first.
Okay.
So Staples, if you walked into Staples right from the beginning, they would want to see your social. They would want to see a personal guarantee. If you walk into Staples with 2 accounts versus 5, they would only probably issue you a net 30 account, which means you have 30 days to pay the bill instead of revolving. So you want to use the U-line, the Quill, with those kind of accounts first.
Got it.
Then when you have 5 of those kind of accounts, that's when you move on to Staples. That's when you move on to Office Depot. That's when you move on to Sam's Club and Costco and all these other sources that will start giving you credit with 5 accounts. Some won't approve you unless you have 7 accounts, 8 accounts, 9 accounts, 10 accounts, right? That's the benefit, for example, our clients get of working with us. We tell them exactly how many trade lines you need to get each account. If you don't know that and you're doing this on your own, it's trial and error. You have to kind of apply for the ones, see the ones that deny you, find the ones that approve you, use the credit for the ones that approve you, and circle back around to the ones that deny you, because the denial just means you don't have enough credit established at that point to get approved.
Got it. Okay. So part of what you'll help them do is on step 3, you've named a few, but you'll kind of guide them through, here are the ones that set up, and then use them. And then that's what you mean. And you're intentionally creating a profile by using it, paying it back.
Sure. I mean, look, it's just a different world. We're very big on free information. We put more free information into the space to teach people how to do this than anybody you'll ever find, probably in almost any industry. But we also have a paid service because, we do a lot of work to find out details on every source. So you can either know that Staples needs 6 accounts to get approved, or you don't. And if you go to Staples of 5 accounts to get approved and denied, and you're doing it on your own, you're just not going to know why. It doesn't mean you can't succeed.
Right.
It just means it takes longer for you to get the same result because you have to go through this trial and error process of figuring out the right order of accounts to apply for. Okay. So that's just the difference between, a paid service like ours that you take years.
Well, see, I like that. I mean, I think that at some point you just got to let people do what they're expert at, and you work on your business and you let other people. I always tell people, I was at a real estate workshop yesterday and I was like, I really just want to focus on growing my business because my unique ability is there. And I want to invest with somebody whose unique ability is real estate. And we partner together because I don't want to paint anything, walk through nothing. I'm lazy.
Right.
So, and so if it can, you can, do your own personal credit, but should you? Are you going to do it? Are you going to write the letter? Are you going to do that kind of stuff? If you're not, then if you can, just pay somebody. And
look, I think that I've owned multiple businesses, and I've been in the beginning stages where, and I always say this, in business, one thing is always more important than another. It's either money or time. Yeah. And when you start out, in a lot of cases, time, your money is more important than time. You don't have a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is you're willing to commit the time to do things the hard way because you don't have the money to pay the people to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually as you get more money, you're like, no, I know the value of my time now.
Yep.
And I'll gladly pay money for somebody to do it versus, actually go at it on my own. So I had some unauthorized inquiries on my credit report and I just paid somebody to get it off. I owned a credit repair company. I still paid somebody to do it because it's not worth my time to go through the process. I'd rather pay an expert. So we understand people are in different places, and that's why I'm here teaching how to do it for free, and we've got videos and everything to teach it. It's just, don't think that just because I'm talking about it, it's easy. You're going to have trial and error. You're going to have bumps. You might apply for the DUNS number. They don't ever send it to you. There's things like that where you may get stuck, which just makes this process take a lot longer than what it could be. But again, don't get frustrated. Just know that the key between step 3 and 4 is that you get that 5 accounts in step 3, then you can start to get approved for revolving credit in step 4. You can start to get the Office Depot and the Apple and the Amazon and the BP and the Tractor Supply and the Shell and the Exxon, Costco, Sears. You can start to get those, but whether you need 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 accounts to get one of those, you're just not going to know if you're doing it on your own versus just trial and error.
Okay, perfect. And what is step 4?
Well, when you move to the final step really is the Visa card. It's really the MasterCard. It's the American Express. And I think I kind of messed it up a little because I teach this sometimes as 5 steps or 4 steps, depending on if you look at getting the DUNS number and checking your business credit reports as step 1 or 2. If you kind of look at all of that as the setup, step 1, then you're kind of looking at, coming in, getting that stuff done. Then you get initial vendor credit as step 2. Then you get store credit, the Visa, the Apple, the Sam's Club, the Costco in step 3. And then step 4 is the finale. That's when you get into auto vehicle financing. That's when you get into Visa cards and MasterCards and American Express cards without a personal guarantee and credit check. And that takes about 14 accounts reporting to get to. So the key in building business credit is to move from a Uline Quill vendor account all the way to a Visa American Express. The difference is how many accounts you have reporting. That's what determines when you move from one stage to the other. If you have enough accounts, you can then move on to the next stage. And the stages really are 5 vendor accounts. Then you're going to need to get store credit or retail credit next. Then when you have 14 accounts, then you can move on to auto vehicle financing, Visa cards, MasterCards, American Express cards, etc.
That's awesome. Okay. So yeah, see, there's a progression that hopefully you're, I always tell when I do this, it says I'm cheating. I've got like 2 pages of notes since we've been talking. So, you gotta, I'm not just here talking, what they say, I'm not just here whistling Dixie. You need to, learn some stuff, reach out, if you need help, but a lot of this stuff, you with Google University, I call it, you can find some stuff out. And at least, step 1, make sure that you're set up right. If you're thinking about it or if you're there, you might not have your stuff right and you begin to set it up. How long would you say it takes to for the business to in that process to get credit, and especially without taking on a personal guarantee?
To get to the very end step of that is going to take you about 6 months worth of time. But you have to keep in mind and keep in mind that this is a never-ending process. A lot of people say, how long does it take to build business credit? And my response is always the same to them. How long did it take you to build your consumer credit? And then their response is, because it's a trick question. It never ends. You never stop building credit. The more credit you build, the more credit you use, the more credit you get, the higher the limits are, the more things you can qualify for, right? There's a reason that Dell can get $100 million credit lines and you and I can. It's because we don't have the hundreds and hundreds of trade lines that they have. But if we built the hundreds and hundreds of trade lines they have, we'd be able to access that same kind of capital. So it's a never-ending process. Mm-hmm. It's just, it takes you about 6 months to get to the final tier of, Visa card, MasterCard, American Express, auto vehicle financing.
Okay. That's actually shorter than I thought. So that's good. And it's all a process. And as long as you're, and you're still running your business and doing other stuff, but you're, systematically working on, accessing capital. It's just, folks, don't borrow money for your ego. I always tell people, look, borrow money to make money. So if it's going to allow you to, protect yourself where you need access to capital, but you want to look for ways to use money to advance your cause, to capture market share, to grow revenue, to, take advantage of opportunities, is really the power of it, because there's always a cost to money. And so you got to look at the spread. Okay, if I do this, it's, and this payment's going to be $300, but I'm making $600. Okay, there you go. That's a no-brainer. And so you always have to look at managing it. But first, we're talking about getting it, but I want to make sure you manage it too while we're talking. That's the planner side of me, right?
Well, and that's like you said. I mean, look, you shouldn't be out there trying to get credit and loans that you can't pay for. That's common sense, because the problem there is that you ruin the credit, consumer, and business that you have, and that affects you through the lifetime of what you do. So you need to be able to get credit and financing that you're going to pay, and then you also need to use it. I think a lot of people make that mistake when building business credit. They say, okay, I've got to get 5 accounts to get to revolving credit. What are the easiest ones to get? Whoa, wrong question. The easiest one to get might be Granger, but do you really need outdoor work boots if you work in an office, right? Like, you're probably better off to go with Quill, which might not be as easy to get, but they sell office supplies, which is what you actually need. And the reason for that is because if you're getting credit you're actually needing, then you're actually using it, and it's the using of the credit that makes it report on your credit report. Your credit reports show the amount of credit you're recently using with those accounts. So if they see that you're using the accounts, the more money you're spending on those accounts, then the more the subsequent approvals are for, And so I see that people come in and go, why can't I get a $10,000 limit? Well, I looked at your business credit report, and every account you have shows you spent less than $100 on it. So why would anybody give you 10 grand if you're only spending 100 using the credit that you have? So get credit you're actually going to use. Get credit that really works for what you do. We order everything on Amazon. So we have an Amazon corporate account. We spend all of our purchases on Amazon corporate account, then we pay it off. We use Office Depot and Staples for other things. So we get credit with sources that we actually use. We don't have fleet credit cards. We don't have Shell and BP credit because we don't have vehicles for the business. It's just not credit that we need. So get credit you're actually going to use, because it's the using of that credit that will help you continue to grow those credit profiles.
That's fantastic. So Ty, you've got significant business experience. So what are some of the mistakes you see, and some tips of just even business tips, and using this to expand their business, or scenarios you see, and just words of wisdom you can share with our audience?
Well, I think that there's a lot of tips. The first thing is, don't put a social security number on an application for business credit unless you are okay to provide a personal guarantee and credit check, because the minute you supply the social, you're going to be doing both. Don't think that what I'm teaching you today means that you're going to go out and get a $1 million loan without a guarantee and a credit check. Loans are going to look at other factors. Your business credit reports say your revenues, they say your profits, they say the financial health of your business based on the employees you have and the size of your business. When you start to get to loans and credit lines, these other scores that are used, these other financial stability indicators are used. So other things more than just business credit are tying into the decisions to get loans and credit lines. Although business credit's an important part of that, it's not the only factor that's looked at. Get money before you need it. Lenders and credit issuers will not lend you money when your back is against the wall, when you're in trouble. So if you're using personal credit, then you're maxing it out, then you come looking for help, you've kind of already shot yourself in the foot. Your ability to get financing is greatly reduced because you've done it the wrong way, and you're now desperate for help, and nobody wants to lend you money or give you credit when you're desperate. So those are just a few tips that I think can help people along the way as they're going through this process to get credit and financing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I always tell people, banks loan money to people that don't need it, right? So you need to show you don't need it like you're desperate, so you gotta kind of prepare that before you get it. So
that is the common misconception, is that, or maybe it is an accurate, assumption. Banks lend money when you don't need it. Well, the reason for that is because the people that think they need it, they're desperate. I've lent money to friends before. I never got a dime of it back because by the time they get to me, like I'm the last stop they got, And so when I, lend them that money, then I know my chances of getting it back are slim because they've got a million other obligations to pay before they ever think about getting back to me. Credit issuers and lenders understand this. They know that when your back is against the wall, you've already maxed out your credit, which means you're heavily in debt, you're desperate for more money. That's not a favorable position for them to lend money and expect to get paid back. They want to give money to that company that goes, hey, I don't need this yet, but like it could be useful to me, because that company's thinking ahead. That company's being proactive. And that's the type of mindset that lenders and credit issuers are really trying to look for when they're looking to issue credit loans.
Tell them about your books and then tell them how they can get in touch with you.
I've got 2 books, Perfect Credit, which teaches you kind of the ins and outs of the consumer credit scoring system and how everything works on the consumer side. 1 chapter dedicated to business credit. And then a book, Business Credit Decoded, which just maps out the business credit system, how it works, how the scores work, how to build it, everything anybody could need. But my best advice is to go to our link, creditsuite.com/EIN. And at creditsuite.com/EIN, your listeners can get a great free guide that maps out the exact steps to build business credit, provides a lot more detail than we were even able to do here. And it gives them everything they need to successfully come in and start building business credit as soon as they download the guide and start taking action.
That's awesome. Well, listen, guys, you got that. Well, I'm going to put those in the show notes, and I'm actually, I'll probably be the first one to download before y'all get to it, but because before this comes out. But I think that we've laid a great foundation for you guys that are in business or would be in business to kind of, structure yourself and get ready to, access other people's money. Okay. And that's a powerful thing. That is absolutely necessary in the world of, because people will tell you, oh, yeah, to get out of debt. You're not going to, you have to strategically use debt to grow. So you've got to, you can't win. If our dollar is debt, you can't win not learning how to manage and use debt to grow your personal and your business economy. So I think that Ty gave you some great intel on how to begin to do that. And Ty, I want to thank you for your time and sharing this information with our listeners.
Curtis, thanks for having me, man. I had a blast. You're a phenomenal host, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to teach people how this works.
Yes, that's my pleasure. And listen, we have to, because I've thought a couple more things, so we'll have to have you back, because this is like the introduction, right? And so the concept is a mile deep. So we may come at this again. If we can get you, I know you got a lot of stuff going on, but I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I mean, next time we'll dive in more into loans and credit lines and the type of financing out there people that don't know is available, and even kind of decode the process and the steps to access some of that money as well.
Well, there you go. That's my next episode. That'll be next month.
Right. I'm back. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, hold on. You talked to hey guys. So listen, thanks for another great episode and listening to another great episode of the Practical Wealth Show. Folks, listen, like, share with your friends, and we will talk to you soon. This is Curtis May and Ty Crandall, and we're both out. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Practical Wealth. To access the show notes and resources, go to practicalwealthshow.com. To get your questions on the show, go to practicalwealthshow.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Practical Wealth. Written permission must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting.